probably, as usual, the only things that will be useful if you happen to have blocks and if you happen to have a cushion, those will probably be great to have. So as you're ready, just find whatever you need, and if you have everything you need, take a moment to just pause. So find a way to stand on your mat that feels stable and comfortable and like you can stand here for a couple of minutes. If you feel like closing your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes. If you don't, that's fine. You might just rest your gaze somewhere. And begin by taking a deep inhale and then slowly letting it out. You might do that a few times. And as you're taking these big, deep breaths, just notice what it feels like to completely fill your lungs and then let it go completely. And as you're ready, bring your attention to your feet. So notice where you're holding your weight. You might rock your weight forward a little and then back a little and kind of over to each side. And then see if you can just kind of settle your weight pretty evenly over both of your feet. Notice what that feels like to you. And then starting from your feet, head up to your ankles and see that your ankles are stacked right over your feet. It's just the way you're built. And then bring your attention up through your calves to your knees. And notice if you can kind of feel the distribution evenly between both knees and both feet. And then come up through your thighs and stop at your hips. Just bringing your awareness to how you're distributing your weight here. So aiming to feel that your weight is dispersed pretty evenly between both sides. And that your hips are stacked over your knees, which are stacked over your ankles. And then bring your attention up through your torso, up to your shoulders. And kind of just notice your arms hanging there from your shoulders. And can you find some kind of equal feeling between both arms? So notice if you happen to be leaning a little more to one side or the other. Notice if you're leaning a little more forward or a little more backward. And can you find a way to kind of equalize that distribution of weight, of gravity? And then notice your neck and your head balancing on top of your neck. And try the same thing here. So you might imagine lifting up tall through the top of your head and just noticing, is your head really balancing pretty evenly up there, not leaning forward, not leaning off to one side, not leaning back? I know in my own body, I have quite a wavy spine from side to side, and so I tend to feel a little more weight from my head pulling to the right, just naturally because of the way my spine is curved. And maybe you have something similar going on that you know of in your body, or maybe not, but can you just notice? can you just feel into that structural support that your body naturally has? Maybe take a few more deep breaths here. Inhaling completely and then exhaling completely. And you might consider kind of thinking about what would it be like to draw your attention on the inhale all the way up from your feet, all the way up your body, the way we just did, through your legs, your torso, your shoulders, your neck, your head, and then on the exhale, bringing your attention all the way down, back down to your feet. And then if your eyes are closed, you can open them back up and take a moment to turn your head slowly to one side. Just notice what your neck feels like and then turn your head slowly to the other side, and try that a couple of times at your own pace. Just noticing what's going on in your neck today. Next time your head is centered, you might try dropping your chin to your chest and drawing little arcs by bringing your chin up to one shoulder and then down and across to the other shoulder. And if you enjoy turning these arcs into circles, you might continue drawing it all the way up and around if that works in your neck. And maybe you draw a circle in one direction and then in the other, or maybe you choose to consider, that doesn't feel great in my neck, so I'm just going to draw these arches, little arcs, little smiles. It's up to you. So moving at your own pace, start mobilizing your neck in this way. You might notice any noises it's making. I have a lot of staticky, crunchy, popping sounds. I kind of think of those as my body's way of communicating some stuff to me, things I might want to pay attention to. When you're ready, you can bring your neck back to neutral. Maybe step your feet just a little wider and see what it's like to just kind of start swinging your body from side to side, keeping a softness in all of your joints. And as you're turning your body towards the left, you might allow your right heel to come up. You might bring more weight into that left foot. Same thing on the right side. And you can let your arms just kind of gently swing around your body. Sometimes people will call these windmills. And if it feels nice to allow your arms to just kind of whack you gently, you can think of it as like an encouraging pat. And if that doesn't feel good, you can just skip that part. But move as slowly or as quickly as you like here. And again, maybe take some really full breaths as you're moving. And then as you're ready, you can slow that swinging down, come back to center. And from here, continue kind of shifting your weight from side to side. And what would it be like to really soften through your joints as you shift from side to side. So can you find a little bit of springiness in your joints? Maybe each time you kind of shift over to one side, you allow that back heel to come up. So if you're shifting to the right, your left heel might come up. You might even lift that foot up off the floor a little bit. And maybe allow your arms to swing a little. And so really paying attention to this weight shift. So where is your weight? It's kind of, you're sending it off to one side, but still managing to keep your balance. And then you can slow that down a little and come back to center. And if you have blocks, grab your blocks and set them down in front of you. And we're not going to use them quite yet, but have them placed right in front of you so that when we're ready, they'll be right there where you need them. And once you're all set up, take a deep inhale and sweep your arms up, stretch up tall, and then stretch a little more through one side, and then a little more through the other side. And do that a few times on each side in a way that feels good to you, if you can make it feel good. And if it can't feel good, can you make it not hurt and feel useful? So as you're doing this, maybe pay attention to, again, the distribution of weight. So as I lean over to the right, I really feel the weight shift into my right side. As I lean over to the left, I really feel the weight shift into my left side. And what would it be like to step your feet a little wider apart if you're noticing this? And can you keep that weight distributed a little more evenly? Not because that's the correct thing to do, but because it's an awareness practice. And it might feel a little bit strange, but I think sometimes it's useful to just notice these things and see if it is possible. And if it is possible, what does it take? So for me, I have to kind of squish my hips over to the outer side in order to feel a more equal distribution of my weight in both feet. When you're ready, you can pause. And you can have your feet together or apart for this. And again, as always, if at any point you're finding that you're liking something, you can stick with whatever you like. You don't have to try everything I'm suggesting. But maybe you sweep your arms up again with a deep inhale. Press your palms together and sit yourself back into a chair posture. So however deep you want to go, but sending your weight kind of towards your heels. So where do you feel this? And you might try holding it, or you might really sit and come back up, sweep your arms up, and try it again. And you could turn this into a movement that was a little more fluid. So maybe you inhale up, bring your palms together, exhale down. And you might feel it quite a bit in your quads, you might feel it in your glutes. You might just notice, where else do you feel it? Chair pose, Utkatasana, in Sanskrit, that actually doesn't translate to chair, it translates to fierce or awkward, which, you know, to me that's fair. I think this is quite a strong pose, quite a fierce, awkward pose. And there are parts of my body that think that too. next time you find yourself standing up, pause there and notice what you're feeling and where. And then as you're ready, step your legs into what for you feels like a wide position that is sustainable and comfortable. And bring some engagement into your lower body. So you might think of squeezing your feet down, maybe isometrically squeezing them towards each other. And then hinging from your hips, keeping a flat back as much as that's possible. Bring your hands down to your blocks. You can have your blocks on any setting. And pause halfway down. And if you don't have blocks, you could use a piece of furniture or bring your fingertips to the floor. And just notice where can you feel a stretch, if at all, anywhere. So very often that'll be through the backs of your legs and your inner thighs. This is Prasarita Padottanasana. And as you're here in this posture, if it feels comfortable to you, you might soften your knees a little bit and start to bend a little more through one leg. And notice that your weight might kind of shift toward that bent leg a little more, and then straighten that and bend through the other leg. And maybe try that a few times on both sides. So kind of shifting your weight back and forth from side to side at whatever pace you'd like to go, and noticing where any stretch kind of shifts, and noticing again that balance of where your weight is at any given point. And if you're using blocks, you might even consider walking your blocks a little bit closer to the leg that's bent each time you shift your weight. So if you're choosing this movement back and forth, bending through one knee at a time, it's a version of Skandasana. Sometimes people call it half squat. Make sure you've evened yourself out, and then come back to center. And keeping one hand down, keep your right hand down on your block. Lift your left arm to the side and see what it's like to kind of come into a twist and open your chest towards the left. Just for a moment. And then bring that hand down, plant that hand on your block or the floor, and lift your right arm up this time. Come into a twist and open your chest towards the right. And then try that again a couple of times on both sides. And this time, again, pay attention to where you're holding your weight. So you've got 3 limbs down at any given point. And just notice how much of the weight of your body is in your feet, in each foot, and how much is in that hand that's down. And as always, it's not about how far you can move into a pose, but how does that posture feel? How does moving your body in this way feel? Can you still breathe pretty freely as you're trying it out? You want to aim to be able to do that. And what are you feeling as you're doing this? So maybe try that 1 or 2 more times if you're still doing it. And take your time coming back to center when you've finished. And from here you might bend through your knees a couple of times, just very gently, noticing what you're feeling. Where's any sensation happening? Is there a stretch? Do your muscles feel like they're really working? And then as you're ready, straighten through both your legs. You don't have to lock them, but straighten them. And then using the strength of your core and your low body and your back, lift yourself back up to standing slowly. And if you feel dizzy at all, again, pressing your hands together, squeezing them can sometimes be helpful. Maybe taking a few deep breaths. And take your time bringing your feet back together, however that works for you. Find mountain pose. Notice what you're feeling here. And then as you're ready, come to the front of your mat. Find mountain pose. Look for that kind of equal distribution of your weight. And as you're ready, bring all your weight into your right leg. Hover your left leg and then step your left leg back into a lunge. So you can have your back heel up to begin with and then see what it's like to spin that heel down once you're in a lunge. And your lunge can be any width you like. Once you're in your lunge, see if you want to kind of shift your legs around. Sometimes widening your legs out towards the side of your mat can help with balance. And then what would you like to do with your arms? Maybe you keep one arm on a wall for balance. Maybe you bring your arms into cactus arms. Maybe you lift your arms up towards the ceiling. So lots of options here. And you're in your warrior one stance here. And you can stay here, or you might consider straightening and bending a couple of times through your front leg, which will be your right leg, I believe. And the next time, if you're trying to straightening and bending through your leg, the next time your legs are both pretty straight, bring some softness again into all of your joints and see what it would be like to kind of open yourself to the side. So you'd be opening your chest towards the left. You could shift your feet any way you need to. And so you'll be in this kind of long stance. Point your toes towards the short edge of your mat on that right leg. And whatever you need to do with your back toes, they might be in a little, they might be facing the long edge. But opening your body towards the side, if that feels good to you, bend through your front knee, maybe extend your arms out in a T, maybe keep one hand at a wall, but try out warrior two, maybe. You might do the same thing here. You might pause and hold, or you might straighten and bend a couple of times through that front right leg. And again, always checking in to make sure you can really breathe with some ease. So you're looking for a balance between effort and ease. And you might notice your weight shifting a little more into your knee as you bend it into your, not into your knee, but into that right leg as you bend that knee, and then shifting back into the left leg when you straighten your front leg. And once you've done that a few times, next time your legs are straight, pause. Again, find some buoyancy and some softness in your joints, and then maybe turn both sets of toes towards the long edge of your mat, so that you're again in a wide-legged stance. Just notice what it takes to pivot like that. And once you've pivoted, turn your left toes so they're facing the short edge of your mat. And then start to bend through that knee, through your left knee, so that you're in a warrior two on your second side. You might lift your arms up, you might decide to place your hand at a wall, and you might consider straightening and bending through that front leg on this side, just like you did on the left side. And make sure you're finding a position that really works in your body. So we all have different bones, different shaped bones. Not everything works for everyone. We all have our own specific versions of each of these postures. Once you've tried that a few times, when your legs are straight, pause again and see if it's possible this time to kind of find again that buoyancy and turn yourself a little more towards your front leg. You might turn your back toes, your right toes in a little bit more, and then find your warrior one here. So you'll be facing more towards the front of your mat, towards that short side. You might try bending through that front knee, maybe lifting your arms up, however you like to. Maybe placing a hand on a wall. Then again, you might try bending and straightening through your left knee a few times. And the next time your legs are straight, you can keep them straight, but find some softness. And would it be possible to pivot yourself open to that long edge of your mat once again? And once you have, maybe you'd like to take a forward fold. Maybe your blocks are right there in front of you, so you stabilize and then hinge forward to whatever degree. You might pause halfway down. You might continue to fold, allowing your head and neck to kind of relax. And if you're folded all the way forward, come back to halfway up. Maybe place your hands on your blocks or at the floor. And then lift yourself all the way up. Make sure you're not dizzy. Maybe squeeze your hands together once you get up there. And step or walk or hop your feet in. Again, pause. Just notice what you're feeling. And then make your way down onto your mat. So have a seat. Maybe you sit on a cushion. Maybe you sit on a block. Maybe you sit right on the floor. fingertips behind you. And maybe try a couple of windshield wipers. So dropping your knees from side to side, allowing your hips to move as they need to do. Your knees don't have to come all the way down to the ground. And just use this movement in a way that feels like it works in your body. And brings in maybe a stretch somewhere, maybe a feeling of just, oh yeah, now I can feel my hips. And if at any point you need to kind of scoot your butt back a little bit, feel free to do that. And if it feels useful to you, the next time your knees are over to one side, you might take the arm that's behind you now, kind of sweep it around and twist yourself over towards what is now your front knee. And then come back to center, and maybe you try that on the other side. So dropping your knees to the opposite side, swinging your back arm around, and coming into a twist. And then come back to center, and make your way down onto your back from here. So come into constructive rest with your back on the floor and the soles of your feet on the floor. And then flex your right foot and bring your right ankle over your left knee. And we're doing Sucharandrasana now. So we do this a lot, and you might know exactly how it feels good in your body. So you can choose for yourself whether to keep your left foot down on the ground and just gently kind of press your right knee away from your body, or whether you want to lift that left knee up towards your body, keeping a gentle flex in your right foot, but that will tend to deepen the stretch. And maybe if you're doing that, you interlace your hands around the back of your left hamstring or around the front of that knee or shin. And you might bring your awareness to your back and the back of your lower back in particular, your sacrum area, wherever your body is touching the floor. And maybe it's, if your left leg is up, there might be a place where your back is lifting up off the ground. But just notice where your weight is distributed here as you're lying on your back. And whenever you're ready, if you've got your left leg up, you can drop it down and release that side. Bring both feet to the floor and then switch to the other side. So your left ankle will come over your right knee. And choose from your options here. So you might feel into it slowly and decide step by step what works for you, or you might head right into what you know works. And once you're set up in a way that does work for you, again, bring your attention into your back and notice how your weight is distributed here. And does it feel different from the way it felt on the other side? as you're ready, you can release that. And from here, just take a moment for a little bit of a yogic recess, and whatever movement or stillness feels right to you before you head into Shavasana, try that out. So if you have no idea what would feel great, you might try a few windshield wipers by bringing your feet out a little wider and dropping your knees from side to side, or pulling your knees into your chest. But you could try out anything at all right here. And then take your time heading into Shavasana. So whatever position is going to feel restful and supportive to you for about the next 5 minutes. Take your time setting yourself up. Maybe you close your eyes. Maybe you just rest your gaze somewhere. You might consider noticing when your attention starts to get pulled and drawn in different directions. Can you just let your thoughts go? Sometimes a lot harder than it seems like it might be. If your mind is wandering, can you let go of whatever is kind of carrying you away from the present? You might take a few really deep breaths. And then slowly start to find a little bit of movement. And if your eyes are closed, if you're ready to transition from Shavasana into a different position, you might open your eyes and take your time, maybe coming into a seated position. If you want to hang out in Shavasana for a while, feel free to do that. Wherever you are, maybe bring your hands into Anjali Mudra, pressing your palms together, or any other position you'd like to hold them in. And just take a moment to express some appreciation to yourself for as specific a reason as you can find. And then a moment to acknowledge the practice of yoga, an ancient Indian practice that is so much larger than what we practice a little tiny bit of every Sunday together, but a really wonderful, vast practice that was shared with the whole world even after colonization threatened to eradicate the practice. And thank you for practicing with me today.